So it's the 2024 college football season, and Texas and Oklahoma making their SEC debut, playing in the SEC for the first time. Totally different dynamic than the Big 12. Last year, Texas went to the playoffs and lost to Washington, and Oklahoma went to the Alamo Bowl, having a pretty good start of the year. They were undefeated, even beat Texas, and they finished 10-3, losing to Arizona in the Alamo Bowl. This is going to be a totally different dynamic going from the Big 12 to the SEC. Is more hostile environments. The players are different. Night games are very different in the SEC. They have never seen anything like this yet. Except for Texas, they got a little bit of background when they went to Alabama and beat Alabama last year, so they know what to expect. Not Oklahoma. Now it's a consistent basis for both teams, and it's going to be very interesting how they respond throughout the season. So let's take a look at Oklahoma's 2024 schedule and predict their games. And guys, let me say this. I'm going to explain each game, and you see they're going 6-6. And let me tell you something. We'll go 3-0 in the first three games. And Tulane is a very important game. Tulane gave a lot of people some problems in the past, especially the last couple of years. They are a very dark horse to make it into the playoffs. But I think they're going to be slowed down a little bit. Not as good as last year or the year prior. And now Tulane can give a lot of people problems. But if Oklahoma struggles with Tulane, and they did in the past a couple of years ago, I wonder how can Oklahoma get any worse, because their defense is atrocious. It can get really bad last year. They need to fix a lot of things, and they didn't fix it. Lincoln Riley didn't even attempt to fix it when he was at Oklahoma, and he's surely not doing it at USC. And Brent Venables having trouble last year and the year before. The defense was more atrocious. It was a little bit better last year, but it was still bad. If their defense is just as bad as they were in 2022, it's going to be a long season, and that's what I got them as. I don't not think their defense is going to help them out as much, and I think their offense is really going to take a step back. They don't have Dylan Gabriel no more, and that's why they're going to lose to Tennessee. I mean, if this is at Tennessee, there will be no question they will get their doors blown off. Now, it's at home. Tennessee is at home. It's going to be a shootout in the way, but I don't think Oklahoma can catch up. I think Tennessee is going to start running away with it in the second half, and Oklahoma can't catch up. I mean, their defense is so bad, and Tennessee's defense is way better than Oklahoma's front line. They really showed that in the Alamo Bowl last year. And if they play anything like they did in the Alamo Bowl, it's going to be a long, long year for Oklahoma, and I got them doing that anyway. But Tennessee is going to run away with this one. And then they go into their first road game, a very hostile environment. It is very hard to go into the jungle of Jordan-Hare Stadium. Auburn, when they're really good, it can get really loud. But even when they're bad, it is very loud. It's very hostile. And this is their first big true SEC road test. I mean, this is going to be a hard test for them. Not a lot of teams can go into Jordan-Hare and beat them. They're not Alabama, and even when Auburn's that bad, they even give bigger teams a problems like Alabama, Georgia. They gave a lot of people a problem even when they're not that good. But Oklahoma's not Alabama or LSU or nothing like that. But the problem is, and this was a back and forth game. It's a 50-50 game. The problem is Auburn don't have a quarterback. I mean, for God's sake, it's just like there's a plug-and-play quarterbacks, and Hugh Freeze don't have that quarterback that fits in that system. They are very specific about quarterbacks, and Peyton Thorne is not going to do nothing. Unless Oklahoma really just shuts down their defense, and it could be a shootout. And even Auburn's defense could be iffy at times. They really showed that last year. But I think Oklahoma runs away from Auburn. I mean, Peyton Thorne, they showed that last year, especially with New Mexico State loss. But Peyton Thorne is not going to take them nowhere. They're going to take them to another 6-6, probably 7-5 season. I think Oklahoma wins that easily. And then they're going to the Red River rivalry versus Texas. And if Texas secondary does not get a grip, Oklahoma can make this into a game. And this game is a game because it can be very close at times. but it can be blowouts sometimes. But I think if Texas can get their corners situated, their zone defense situated, their secondary, if they can be taken care of, they can take care of Oklahoma. But if they don't and they still haven't figured it out, Oklahoma can make this game, and it can be an issue for Texas. But I think Texas should blow Oklahoma doors off. I'm sorry. I mean, Texas is 3 times better than Oklahoma, and if they have a problem, I would think Texas. If they lose this game, they probably lose 2, 3 more games. If they lose to Oklahoma, and then they're going to go to South Carolina and they're going to beat them, and they're going to lose at Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, and all them. Ole Miss defense is pretty solid. They're not going to go to the Grove, and they're not going to go to Ole Miss and beat them. No way. And they're going to go on the road versus Missouri. It's going to be a very old school Big 12 game. Both very high emotions for those two. I just don't think Missouri going to lose this game to Oklahoma. It might be close all the way to the end, but I think Missouri can close it out about 14 points. I think Missouri is just that better versus Oklahoma. And Oklahoma's going to finish it up with Alabama and LSU. Very two tough opponents. Number one, they're not even close to Alabama. Alabama's going to blow the doors off of Oklahoma. That's how good they are. Especially Jalen Milroe. He can run all over the place. He is an athlete. He is just like Anthony Richardson. And their defense is so bad. They're going to be exposed more worse than they did in 2022. And then they go to LSU. If this was played at home at Oklahoma or kind of like a 3:30 game at LSU, maybe they have a chance. But if this is at night at LSU and LSU is 10-2, 9-3, no way. LSU will blow the doors off of Oklahoma again. They're not going to lose at Death Valley, especially at night. And they have never played somewhere like that at night. And it's at Death Valley. So, no way. I think they're going to go 6-6. That is a very disappointing season for Oklahoma. And they are complete opposite what we're going to predict for Texas. Because Texas has an easier schedule than Oklahoma. But Oklahoma is not going to be having a warm welcome to the SEC. Because they got some tough opponents. And their offensive line is bad. Their defense is bad. Jackson Arnold, he's going to have some struggles. And Brent Venables better figure it out fast before it can really get bad for the next couple of years for Oklahoma. Now, for Texas, their schedule is pretty good. And they got a good test at Michigan. And they should beat Michigan. I think they're a way better team than Michigan. Michigan lost a lot. They even lost their coach. But they have a coach now that was already in the system with Jim Harbaugh. And so it's no different. He even coached a couple games when Jim Harbaugh was suspended. So he knows about coaching and he gets his team rally around him and circle the wagons. It'd be a close game, but Texas should beat Michigan. And now they got a 3 tough team stretch. Mississippi State is a very physical team. And with their cowbells is very loud. And then they got Oklahoma in the rivalry game and Georgia. That is a hard 3-game stretch, even though Mississippi State is not that good. They should blow the doors off of Mississippi State, but they're going to get beat up a little bit and roughed up, especially in the first half, because Mississippi State's very physical. And then they're going to go to Oklahoma, and again, like I explained it in the Oklahoma schedule prediction in their preview, they're going to take the W. They should beat Oklahoma, but their secondary causing them issues throughout the year. There's going to be a problem for them. And then they're going to play at home versus Georgia, and this is on the road to Georgia. I think Texas loses to Georgia if it was on the road. But this is at home, and the crowd's going to be hostile. It's not the loudest that Georgia will play in, especially in the SEC, because they're used to it. But I think Texas is going to beat Georgia because they're going to be at home, and they're going to be better than Georgia. Their defense going to contain Carson Beck. They lost a lot of offensive weapons, in my opinion, especially Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. But Georgia's defense is going to keep them in the game. It's going to be a very close game. Then Texas is going to have a tough opponent versus Florida. If it was in the swamp, they will probably have a very hard time with Florida. But at this time, it's Billy Napier having a bad season with Florida. This could be a throwaway game for Florida, basically packing it in and just collapsing because this could be the failure of Bill Napier. Probably get fired by this point if their season turned bad. If they especially lose to Miami in the beginning, this could be bad. But I think Texas at home, they're going to beat Florida, but in the first half, it's going to be very close. And then at Arkansas, a very tough environment for them. This is a true road test for at the late in the year. They could get problems in the first half, but they're not going to lose to Arkansas. I'm sorry, Arkansas don't have a quarterback, and I think this is Sam Pittman's last year. But Arkansas is very physical, and they can't get roughed up. And next week, they're going to Kentucky, then at Texas A&M, and Texas is going to win this easily. But again, just like Mississippi State, they're going to get roughed up. And then they're going to play at home versus Kentucky. They don't have Devin O'Leary, and I think Kentucky will take a step back. They're probably a 6-6, 7-5 team. But still, Kentucky is one of the toughest physical teams in the SEC. They can rough you up. Again, they're going to get roughed up, but they should easily beat Kentucky. But do not expect they're going to just come out alive and just blow them out from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. They're going to get roughed up, and they're going to be a challenge all the way to probably late in the fourth quarter. Probably force a turnover and actually wore out Kentucky later in the fourth quarter, making it probably a 21-point game win for them. And then they go on the road to the most classic Big 12 rivalry. Old school rivalry is finally back, and I love this when it was on Thanksgiving Day. Historic rivalry, and I love that it's back. But since Texas and Oklahoma moved from the Big 12 to the SEC, they lost. Oklahoma lost Oklahoma State, but they have Missouri back. Now Texas A&M is back. And let me say this. It's at nighttime at Texas A&M, and this is basically an SEC environment. This was an environment for SEC type of fans when they were in the Big 12, and it was loud. Texas have not played Texas A&M at Texas A&M since 2011. They have not played them. They have forgot what Kyle Field sounds like, and this is going to be at night. Texas A&M probably be 7-5, 8-14. This is rivalry week. Imagine an undefeated Texas team with an pretty good Texas A&M team. This game kind of feels like a very upsetting kind of game. They should be on red alert, and I think Texas A&M beats Texas. Yeah, it's a writing on the wall. Texas A&M probably a 7-5, 8-4 team. They're gonna be jumped. They're gonna be juiced up. And it's rivalry week. It's at night. They're finally playing Texas, and I think they beat them. I think Texas stumbles right here in this game, especially at night. It's gonna be a hostile environment. It's gonna be crazy for a rivalry game, and I think they're just gonna finish 11-1, go to the SEC championship, and make the playoffs for sure. But tell me what you think about these two teams' predictions and how they're going to be in the first year, their debut year for the SEC. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video.